Hi. Okay, great. It's working. It was freezing because of the conversion, hashtag being abroad. So basically, it's the second day of the Baku Forum, and I just wanted to do a quick reflection on how the first day was. First of all, the day started with us being able to meet the other young leaders who were invited to this conference. And I remember just sitting there and being so inspired by all the young people. So first of all, they come from like different parts of the world. So from Russia to Mexico, different parts of America, parts of the Middle East, like Lebanon, um, and come from various fields and disciplines. So literally, we were sitting around introducing themselves. Like one person was like, "I'm the youngest person to have traveled to every single part of the world." The other person who was in the room was like casually like, "I'm working on inventing the first flying car," and it was just like super inspiring because obviously the current political climate is not amazing. So it's like really cool to be able to meet young people who are like making such innovative change and like just going into life and being who they are to the fullest. So that was the first part of it. Then the second part of it was we actually like went to a university in Azerbaijan, which was beautiful. And apparently, like if you come to study in it as an international student, you get to go there for free. So if y'all want an education, Azerbaijan is the place. The foreign ministry pays for it. And then after that, we actually had like a really cool in-depth discussion because basically the 28 students who were in the summit or the 28 young people in the summit, we're going to have an opportunity to do a workshop and panel for the 70 state leaders who are attending the summit. And it was so basically we had an opportunity to discuss like what would this session look like, and we talked about like some of the challenges that are top of mind for us, and a lot of them had to do with like actually had to do with exclusion, xenophobia, racism, as we see that's an increasing issue both in the United States but also Europe and across the Middle East and Africa, and as well as Latin America. It's just like the othering of people, dehumanization of certain groups of people, the marginalization of minority groups, marginalization of women. So it's like really thinking about like how do you amplify the voices of minority groups and like leverage both non-state actors like civil society and corporates to be able to do work that the state oftentimes right now is working against, right, because of closing democratic space and closing civil society. So we had like a really fascinating conversation with an international human rights lawyer and the former first lady of Ukraine. And then afterwards, we actually like went to dinner. And at the dinner, I just remember like walking in, like the first moment I walked in, a man comes up to me and he's like introducing himself, talking to me, and I go like, "Hey, like, so tell me what you do, like what brought you here?" And he was like, like I don't really do much, but this is kind of like my vacation. It's my time off because it's such a cool opportunity and I get to meet awesome people. And he was like basically tell me about what you do. And I did. And then he goes, and then I was kind of like probing more to figure out what this guy does, right? Like, what does he do? And he goes, "Oh, so I used to like run a small state for a couple of years." And I was like, which state? And he goes, "Oh, I was the prime minister of Pakistan." And I'm like, first of all, Pakistan is not a small state. There's like 300 million people in Pakistan. But anyways, I think that's like, it captures like the amount of power that was in the space, but also the amount of opportunity for us to connect and really influence and like be able to kind of bring in our viewpoints as young people. So it was a very casual but formal space where we got to connect and like learn. And I had an amazing conversation about gender justice. There was great music, great food. It was such an incredible night. And I think what I'm looking forward to the most is the fact that there's so many leaders in this one space, is learning from their leadership challenges, because obviously so many of these leaders have had like difficult times, whether they're, they like had to run their country under a revolution or were ousted by a coup or had to deal with fiscal crisis or had to deal with closing space and rollback of democracy or economic development, etc. All of them face some sort of leadership challenge. And as a young person, to be able to connect with these people, learn from their histories, learn from the work that they've done, whether I agree with it or disagree with it, is like such an eye-opening opportunity so that I could bring it back to my own work and my own leadership. So it's definitely something I'm looking forward to today. And I remember just like, sitting with one of a former first lady, actually the former first lady of Ukraine. Her name is Catherine. She's super nice. And I was kind of like, I feel really overwhelmed. Like, there's so many awesome people in this space. Like, what suggestion do you have for me as a young person to like make connection? And she was like, actually, a lot of these people are super interested to like get to know you and like learn from you as someone who's like at the front lines and like doing this work, and who has like more innovative, like young, fresh ideas. And don't be afraid to like reach out. And I think that works in any context, especially like networking professional spaces. It might feel hard to like approach someone because they're so experienced in their field, let alone like approach a state leader or like a prime minister or former prime minister. But I think like just for me, what I'm trying to wrap my head around is like, how do I get the confidence to do that and like learn from them? But then also like, I'm super excited to leverage the network of young people that I'm developing here, because I think that's where so much magic is, because they're doing such great work, and to be able to learn from that and then also bring it back. So for example, I met two people from Queens, New York, and I'm like, it took me all the way to come to Baku so I can meet you. And there's like really great opportunities for us to collaborate, and create organizing spaces like in New York City. We talked about gentrification in New York and in Queens. We talked about housing policy, we talked about economic policy. And yeah, overall, it was like such an amazing experience. So I rambled. Last time it was 3 minutes, now it's 6 minutes, but there's just so much in it. And I just feel very fortunate to have this opportunity to be out here. That's all.